call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation following.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them the wisdom to know and the courage to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Goodar.
Here.
Green.
Here.
LaFleur.
Here.
Mistrovich.
Here.
Ricks.
Here.
Schultz.
Here.
Yarrick.
Here.
Good to see everybody here tonight. We move on to approval of minutes for the regular meeting of June 3rd. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Support. Motion's been made and supported. Is there any discussion on these minutes? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We move on to audience comments on any non-agenda items. If anybody would like to address the city council, we simply ask you to come to the podium, state your name and address to the clerk for the record. Would anybody like to address? Yep.
My name is Maurice Trees. I live on 68215 Howard Street. I have a couple issues to bring before the council. One thing is the people that deliver the Blue Water Shopper.
Yeah.
You know, they throw them on a porch. I've called them 5 times not to deliver this paper, and I confronted them today, and they said they have a list that they have of not delivering people. And I talked to the lady. She said, "Well, the other lady has a list." So I went and talked to the other one. She says she has a list, and I was lied to, obviously. So I asked her to contact the name of her supervisor. She gave me the number. I don't know, should I call them or have somebody from the city call them? What's the best way to go? Because I hate having these papers thrown on my porch all the time.
I understand.
I know we looked into this once before. I don't have an answer for you tonight, but I know I have some contact numbers at the Times Herald, which I believe
have the name of
produces
the
that.
supervisor. I know these people
So-
are disabled to deliver them, but they have people
Let me
with them to tell them where.
Look into that and get back to
Okay.
council and then
Has
Maurice.
the city manager looked into that for you?
I'll give them the number of the supervisor if he needs it.
Sure.
I'll call you, Maurice.
Okay, and one other thing, several years ago, we were asked to, put in sidewalks on streets and things like that, and they put in curbs on Grand Trunk, and they put in curbs when they put the traffic light in from Main Street back to 150 feet approximately. But they never finished in between Grand Trunk and Main Street. Are they ever gonna finish that?
That's an issue of having an outlet that would accept the storm sewer if we lower it with the curb and gutter. I
Well-
think it's a county drain issue, but I'd turn that over to Paul if he has a answer on that. Isn't on Howard Street, doing curb and gutter on Howard, we'd need to work with the county, and currently they don't have.
Right now, there's no outlet for a storm drain,
Right.
and you can't cut the
Well,
road down.
there's a storm drain there, about halfway between Main Street and Grand Trunk. There's a storm drain there. And, people, going to church there on Sunday, they have to park in the mud, and that's, if we want to make, people think our city is good and looking good, we should correct that somehow. They put the new curbs and things on Mary Street, and they did forest and things like that, so.
Well, historically, I know as long as I've sat here, we've had a problem with drainage, period, on Howard Street, on that end, especially down towards, heading towards 32, going kind of northeast. There's no place for it to go. It's flat as can be. It's one of the reasons that when we went through and did almost every single road, curb and gutter in the city, one of them that didn't get done because it's so expensive, and trying to figure out, probably, in my opinion, would probably be at least one, if not more, lift stations just to get the water out of the flats that are known as Howard Street there on the north end. That's probably part of the problem right now, Maurice. Otherwise, we've been pretty aggressive for about 18 years now in taking care of curb and gutter where there isn't any in the community. But why don't you let us take a look at it, and again, John will get back to you and let you know where we stand on that.
On that same thing, I was down Mary Street last week. After it rained, there was a good 4 inches of water on the south end of Mary Street.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to happen. We just don't have the capability of taking that much water all at one time. You've got that in a lot of different places. You've got it right on Main Street on the south end. It's a very dangerous area down there, but the pipe's only so big, can only take so much water in so much time. Usually you'll see that will be gone within 15 minutes to a half an hour, usually, unless the rain continues to compile. But, you know, we can only do so much with the money that we have, and I think we've done a pretty good job so far with what we've had. But you will get those heavy rains where you'll get that issue. At Howard Street, another one is Pound Street. We can't afford to do Pound. It is slated to be done, but it's the same thing. We have open ditch out there. The expense is going to be exuberant, and it is on our, what is it, our 10 or 20-year road plan that we've had for a number of years, and we will get to that too eventually when we can afford to do it without bonding out or any special assessments to property owners or anything else.
Well, I don't remember exactly how many years ago it was, but they approached the people on Howard Street if they wanted to pay for the curbs themselves, and I would have been assessed something like $1,200 or $1,400 on my area there. And that was turned down at the time. I don't know if you remember that or not.
That's before me, I keep hearing.
There was a vote on it.
There was a vote on it?
There
By
was.
the people of the area or by the whole town?
By the people of the area.
Okay.
Because they didn't want to, like me, $1,200 for, I don't know, 100 and some
Yeah.
feet,
Yeah, I don't remember that.
And
That
all the other
wasn't,
curbs were paid for by other funds.
yeah. That must have been prior to 95.
It
since
was.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, see, we've, when they had that special assessment for all the streets, and then we have been setting aside 2 mills for streets all these years since then, and trying to maintain the streets as best as we can and install new streets and curb and gutter wherever we can. That is probably why you're not going to, and what that done is eliminated special assessments, which a lot of communities have. But the reasoning behind this, and I believe it still holds true today for the majority on the council, is everybody drives on those streets, so why special assess just one, the people that live on it? So again, we have I believe it's been a 20-year plan, capital outlay plan that the council has updated every single year. And I'm not sure if Howard Street's even on it. I don't remember seeing
Well,
it.
unfortunately, in regards to curb and gutters, it's not having an outlet for the water. We would have to do a lift station, probably a detention area
Yeah.
to get rid of the water. There's no place to put it.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you. Is there anybody else that'd like to address council at this time? We will move on. Adoption agenda, Mr. City Manager, any changes?
No changes.
City Council, any changes? Motion to accept the agenda as presented be in order. So moved. Support. What's been made and supported? Is there any discussion? Being not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion does pass. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Made and supported. There's no discussion on the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We have no public hearing this evening. Tonight we have 5 items for consideration. The first one is consideration of the introduction and first reading of resolution number 2013-6, Lennon Street right-of-way abandonment. Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to introduce and give first reading of resolution number 2013-6 for the abandonment of the Lennon Street right-of-way from Mary Street to Seymour Street. As outlined in the weekly update, the only reason to retain this right-of-way would be construct a midpoint connector between Mary and Seymour Street. No development will take place that would require a developer to construct the street, and if this section were constructed, the city would bear that cost. The right-of-way is 60 feet wide by 34 feet long, and the city will retain the south 15 feet as a public utility easement due to the sanitary sewer main.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion before discussion?
Move to introduce and have first reading of resolution number 2013-06, a resolution to abandon that a portion of Lennon Street right away from Mary Street to Seymour Street.
Support.
What's been made and supported? Take your pick on that one. Discussion. I've noticed letters have been sent to the property owners, and we haven't heard anything from the property
Correct. Paul sent 3 letters out. There's 1 property owner on the north side of that easement and 2 property owners on the south. I believe Paul has talked to at least, or all 3 on that. And other than that, we have not heard from them at City Hall, but they may be here tonight.
Did they seem all positive?
But
They're all positive in the discussions. Very good.
discussions, if the gentleman wants to come to the podium. Okay.
When council's done, then I'll call on you, and we'll bring you up. Any other discussion at the table?
I have a question, that if this should go to the property owners, then would their property then be reassessed and then their taxes increased?
Yes, that would, I mean, adding the property to their land will impact their taxes.
Anything else? To the public. Sir, would you like to come up and talk, state your name and address, please, for the record?
Paul Zamano, 68110 Mary Street. I received a letter last week sometime. I'm for it. It was something that I approve of, and it would be something that I don't know how the, like you said, my property taxes might go up and whatnot, but no, I'm in favor of it. It's
Very good.
Very good news to me.
They've been cutting the grass there anyhow?
Yeah, I've been doing that. Me and the neighbor have been,
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's always looked very nice there.
Yeah, so I'm sure that I'll have more questions as it goes, but I'm for it.
Very good.
Hopefully my neighbors are also, so I'll have to talk to them maybe. They haven't had a chance to.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else like to address this issue? Back to the table? Comment?
Just I appreciate staff doing this. I definitely appreciate the path, and whenever we find that we have property that we're not going to use, that we return it to the private sector, take it out of the public domain if we're not going to need it. I think it's a very appropriate stewardship of the company.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I just look at, excuse me, Mr. Mayor. I look at this as a benefit to those property owners, because down the road, you never know, there could be some point where somebody wants to put that road in there. And by doing this now, that stops that from happening and makes it much better use of the property.
Is this also a location of our first building permit for a house in 6 years?
Yes,
Yeah.
the other property owner on the south side.
Everything being popped or anything for this?
Like Mr. Thibodeau.
Yeah. Anything else? Being not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion does pass. Item number 2 is consideration of board appointments. Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to consider making appointments to the Cable TV Committee, Library Board, and Recreation Board, and Planning Commission. All vacancies have been advertised in the Voice. The Cable TV, we received applications from Lori Ricks and Bill Ruff. From the Recreation Board, from Gina Caperton, and from the Planning Commission, Mike Kaminsky, Dr. McClellan, and J.W. Smith.
Thank you, sir. We will take the Cable Commission first. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to reappoint Lori Ricks to the Cable TV Committee for a 3-year term with an expiration of 6/30/2016.
Support?
It's been made and supported. Any discussion? I'd like to note that she was on there well before I got on council in 1995, so the charter is clear on that, that as long as she was on there before I got on the council, then she can be reappointed. Any other discussion? Any audience participation on this item? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. We also have another seat on the Cable TV Committee.
Make a motion to appoint Bill Ruff to the Cable TV Committee for a 3-year term with an expiration of 6/30/2016.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Any discussion?
Bill's been on there a long time also.
Yes, he has. Certainly has. Done a good job.
And to understand that Shirley Skelton that was not interested in being reappointed.
Right.
Wanted to thank her for her service. I know she served on there for many years.
Okay, any audience participation on this item? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We now have a Recreation Board seat open.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Gina Caperton to the Recreation Board for a 2-year term with an expiration date of 03/31/2015.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Discussion. Gina's, I believe it's her second term
I believe so.
on the board. Appreciate her signing back up again. Any audience participation on this item? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion passes. I'd ask council to confirm my reappointment of Dr. Pat McClellan to the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Dr. McClellan to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term with an expiration date of 6/30/2016.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Any discussion? Talk about somebody who's been on a board for a while. He's got-
1968.
Huh?
1968.
68.
45.
45 years.
I always remember it's 1 year older than me.
He's going for the record.
I already got it.
I appreciate Doc putting his name back in the hat again. He's served as chairman of that board for a long time. Any other discussion at the table on this? Any audience participation on this item? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Also, I'd ask that you reappoint Mike Kaminsky to the Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
I move to confirm the mayor's reappointment of Mike Kaminsky to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term with an expiration date of 6/30/2016.
Support. It's been made and supported. Discussion? Mike does a nice job. He also is our Planning Commission member on the Zoning Board of Appeals that hasn't met in years.
Correct.
But just in case, we had to have one. So if you remember, we had a point one here not that long ago. Mike fills in on that for us. Any audience participation on this appointment? Back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Against? Motion passes. Also, I'd ask that you would reappoint John Smith to the Planning Commission.
I'll make a motion to confirm the mayor's appointment of John W. Smith to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term with an expiration date of 6/30/2016.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Discussion? John has come from the township a few years ago where he had, I think, 10 years on the Planning Commission in Richmond Township, and he's been with us, I believe, a full term now.
Yes.
I think it's been one full term. So, nice addition to our Planning Commission. Any other discussion? Any audience participation on this item? Being not, back to the table. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. We want to thank all those that came back for reappointment to those boards. We appreciate their input. Item number 3 is consideration of signage requests, senior helpers.
Council.
Go right ahead.
Sorry. Council is scheduled to consider approving a request received from senior helpers to allow temporary signage to direct people to the summer concerts in the park this year in Beebe Street Park. The summer concert series are sponsored by Senior Helpers and have been approved by the Recreation Board and are part of the summer activities guide that the Rec Board puts out. However, Senior Helpers would appreciate some additional signage of directing people into the park at the location of Division and Beebe, Park and Main, and Festival Drive in Beebe Street. They would go up like noon the day before and the day of the event.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request received from the Senior Helpers for temporary signage on June 25th, 26th, July 16th and 17th, and August 20th, 21st, 2013. The sign shall only be allowed on private property located at the corner of Beebe Street and Division Road, corner of Park Street and Main Street, and adjacent the corner of Festival Drive and Beebe Street.
Support.
It's been made and supported. Any discussion?
Got to get the people there.
Certainly do. Still think we need to get some kind of a community sign somewhere where we can put these type of events. I don't know how we would do it, because there's a lot of different events going on at the same time, and it's hard to determine who's going to be on the first come, first serve or whatever, but we definitely need to have some kind of a signage in the community. We're going to have to think about that down the road when we have some money again, or through requests, through downtown funds, through TIFA or whatever. But we've got a lot of things going on. It's very hard to get the information out in a timely manner without having signs all over town, changeable copy signs. That the ordinance doesn't, it frowns on changeable copy signs pretty much in our ordinance. So it'd be nice if we could work towards that someday, let people know what's going on in a timely fashion. Other comments? Any audience participation on this item? Back to the table.
Just want to compliment Senior Helpers for this event and continuing this, adding to this, to the culture of Richmond for the summer.
Anything else? All in favor of the motion signify by say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Item number 4, consideration of Historical Society roof replacement. Mr. City Manager.
City Council is scheduled to consider a request from the Richmond Area Historical and Genealogical Society to help with the roof replacement on the old schoolhouse. The Recreation Board approved the project from a park facility point of view, but did not discuss funding. Over the last year, the Historical Society has been working on their long-term preservation plan, and this is the next item on that agenda. The schoolhouse roof is in pretty bad shape. I know last year during one rain event, they actually had water fill up into a overhead light fixture. I did meet with Christine Rowley and Lori Nye last week to discuss the project. They have given kind of the information they've received on some bids for different types of roofing, asphalt shingles, cedar shake shingles, and a metal roof. I did have a question from a council member on kind of the expected life of those different types of materials. Zimmer, who provided the estimate, said that the cedar shake and the metal roof would last about the same, roughly a 50-year life expectancy, and then the 30 on the regular shingles. Council's pleasure on this to discuss, and if possible, we did provide a motion, if council's pleasure, sending it to TIFA for their consideration.
Do you want to make any type of presentation to the city council?
John did a great job.
Get a $10 dues out of me? Motion before discussion.
I make a motion to forward the Historical Society's schoolhouse roofing request to TIFA for their consideration.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Is there any discussion? As part of the long-term plan that you had presented to us, that we had approved previously to this, and it's up to TIFA how they want to fund it, as far as I'm concerned. That's not up to us. So, Is there any other discussion?
I mean, it's worth, it's definitely worth consideration by Tifa, that we send it to them. We do already have beautification programs through Tifa for businesses, and I think this is, a draw for our community and a piece of history for our area.
Anything else? Any audience participation at this time?
I'd just like to
Chris,
make one.
please stand up and say who you are and your address, please.
My name is Christine Rowley. I'm the president of the Richmond Area Historical Society. Just to kind of maybe lighten things up a little bit, we had second graders visiting the school a few weeks ago, and one of the second graders who'd be 7 years old, I was touring them around the buildings, and one of the second graders, I said, "This is our schoolhouse, and it was built in 1886," and he looked at it and he said, "Wow, that really needs a new roof." He was 7 years old.
Yeah.
So, it's if you've looked at it and you've driven by there, it's in disrepair.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
thanks for your consideration.
Anybody else like to address the council on this issue? Back to the table. Any other discussion? Seeing not? All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. Good luck. Item number 5 is consideration to schedule a quarterly workshop meeting day. Mr. City Manager.
Council is scheduled to consider scheduling your July quarterly workshop. As we discussed at the last council meeting, I did send out calendar pages, and everyone marked them up on the dates that they were available. We all have a very busy July, and I think July 18th was the only date that was completely open.
Certainly looks like it. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to schedule the quarterly workshop meeting of the city council for July 18th, 2013 at City Hall, beginning at, what would we like?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock?
6 good?
That might be a little tough, because I could come out of class that day. 6:30 maybe?
6:30?
I mean, if you want to get started at 6, I mean, I might be a little.
Do we have a ton of things?
We're just kind of compiling, going back through the budget workshops. I know there was some discussion on board composition in some of our boards. There was talk, we want to kind of flesh out the police post winter maintenance a little bit better than we had time to at the budget. A couple other things were, but there was probably 3 or 4 things.
Okay. 6:30 good for everybody?
Yes.
Okay.
Beginning at 6:30.
Support. It's been made and supported. Discussion.
This scheduling method is working very well, I think.
Much easier. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion does pass. That is a special quarterly workshop meeting held by the city council, always open to the public, held right here. So if anybody would like to attend that, you're more than welcome. Okay, we move on to city manager's comments, sir.
Just wanted to mention that the company installing the utility poles around town, they are in town. They're making progress. They're certainly not done by any means, but they have gotten some of them taken care of, or in the ground at least. I also did finally get some movement from Detroit Edison on the pole at George in Maine, I believe. It is Verizon and now Frontier, but Detroit Edison today put the work order in themselves rather than have it come from the city. We'll see if that helps. So.
I have a question in regards to that. Where the poles have been laying for so long, are they going to replace the grass of the residents whose lawn that it has ruined?
The short answer would probably be no, but that was something that I can find out what utility company has those poles, and they can contact that utility company.
Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah,
Right. The short answer is no.
What was the reasoning behind the delay in putting them up? Did they say that it was
Just
fiscally they
just work scheduled.
work schedule?
You know,
Okay.
I think they probably hired one contractor to go out and drop personal opinion, have no clue whether this is correct or not, had one company go and drop them all off, and another company come along,
Put them off.
and put them up.
One thing led to
And
another.
didn't have a lot of good communication between the two.
Okay. All right, we'll go with council comments. Jeff?
I think the updating on the clock looks really good. I understand the lock's going to be replaced here shortly, but it is secured. And good job to the boys' baseball team, and I'm sure Dennis will add more to that. So,
Well, I'm just going to congratulate them. We got the pleasure of being out there, and unfortunately they came up a little short, but they made their history, first time they've ever been in the finals. And so it's pretty exciting, and hopefully they can do it in the years to come.
They played against a experienced, tough team there.
Yes.
Was that their number one pitcher on
Some
Saturday?
Some
Yeah.
said yes, and some said that because the pitcher the day before in the semifinals threw basically the same type of game, didn't give up any runs. So.
Yeah. My understanding was they've been in that same position for 3 years.
Yeah, they won it
Won it
last
for the
year,
first time last
and
year.
the year before that they took second.
Yeah. So that has a lot to do with it.
Yep.
I think hopefully we see Richmond back there next year, and they're a very young team. So hopefully they'll be there again for us. Jeff?
I'll try to be quick. I have a few things. One, a number of the various board positions have expired. Mary Lou Berg didn't ask to be reappointed. However, she served on the library board for many years, and I want to thank her for her service. I know that she stayed on. She was asked, and she continued for many years. Also, she helped the council. We had a library districting committee that, in addition to being on the board, she came out and sat with us and worked with us, so I really appreciate that time. Regarding The Voice, last week it posted that we're potentially going to have a $1 million budget surplus at the end of the year. I think sometimes it's government accounting and private accounting gets a little different, that the verbiage may have been somewhat confusing. We're all talking about running out of money, and it kind of implied that we had a lot of extra money. And not for the council, but for those who want to make sure it's out in the community, that no, there's not an additional $1 million that we're going to have after this year. We basically have $1 million of what we really would consider savings. We wouldn't have been in a position of having to lay off an employee if we were going to be $1 million ahead, if we were going to take in $1 million more than we were going to spend. And something about government accounting.
I believe the city manager addressed the writer of that news, and she was going to try to get something in this week.
In an email to me,
clarify
she
that.
said she would fix it. Well, and we hope to see that.
It does get a little, yeah, but I wanted to kind of get that out in the community, know that, we wouldn't have been in a position to basically have to lay off an employee and trying to balance the budget if we were going to be that far ahead. So I thought that was important, especially out of respect to the employee that we unfortunately had to lay off. Another thing that I think people don't always understand about government is that because our tax bill goes out gets paid in September, we get the money in September, but we start spending money in that budget for July 1st. We actually need money in the bank to pay the bills while we wait for the taxes to come in. So there's always a bit of money that has to be in there just to, operate that fund balance. I was in Lansing. Quite fortunately, there was an issue that came up from Jeff White raised that there was $2 million in municipal credits that would go to our local community transit bus. I was in Lansing on Tuesday pushing a number of issues, but fortunately that was one of the issues I ended up working on. So I appreciate both Representative Goyke and LaFontaine's staff. Both when I came in there and said, well, I want to talk about this issue, they pulled it right up and said, this issue. So it was a kind of a good feeling to know that it was on top of their desk. And the message we've gotten from both representatives is that they're working on making sure it's in there. And actually ran into the municipal liaison for MDOT, government liaison for MDOT in Lansing. He kind of explained the situation that sometimes when the budget goes between the governor's office and the legislature, these items are either rolled up into smaller items or rolled down to expand them out. And when it rolled down, MDOT forgot to put it back in apparently. So there is efforts afoot, as I think council knows, to get that money back in there. That doesn't appear to be an intentional cut. There seemed to be a miss. But I appreciate working with Jeff Wade, Richmond Lennox to maintain our smart system. And again, we always want to give kudos to our representatives who worked on that. I also stopped in Senator Pavlov's office. Had sort of a disappointing discussion with their communications director talking about budget issues. He sort of was not too sympathetic to the fact We're talking about I was advocating for the return of money to revenue sharing, which is now EVIP for local government, and all the things we've been cut. He wasn't overly, not Senator Pavlov, but one of his staff members, not sensitive to our situation, where I then outlined what I brought up last meeting about all the cuts that we've received and how we're doing our best, and that the state needs to start remembering that we've been doing our part to feel the pain. So one of his comments was, well, we all need to feel the pain. And then which do I explain to him, itemized all the pain that we've been feeling, and I was wondering when, some of that pain was going to be felt by our legislature. Fortunately, I did receive a phone call back from Senator Pavlov's legislative director, which I will be having a conversation with this week. But whenever I go to Lansing and advocate for the city, I like to bring it back to the city and the council and say, this is what the conversation was up there as we continue to make sure that Richmond's not forgotten in the halls of the Capitol.
Jamie.
Today marked the kickoff for both the recreation and library programs, and I'd like to just thank Julianne for doing a great job. The library today, specifically the Science Alive presentation, was fantastic. Deb did a great job, and the library staff did a great job. The library was just packed. It's also not too late to sign up for our recreation programs for the second session. And also the library has activities going on Monday and Tuesday every week until the middle of July with their reading contests and the coloring contest at the clock.
Very good. Mike?
Just wanted to expand a little bit on what the conversations about our high school varsity baseball team making it to the state finals for Division II. It was great. I was there for both games. I really enjoyed it. One thing to point out was on the final game, which was against Grand Rapids Christian, Richmond had about probably close to twice as many supporters out there as Grand Rapids, which, if I look at the map, it's a little bit closer to Battle Creek than Richmond is. So, and that's something that's been going on for years, for when our teams, and I think that's what really makes Richmond, the high school athletic program, stand out, is the full support that you get from the community. They even have the crowd in sync on doing cheers, right? And I was kind of behind for the game against Milan, which they won the semifinals. The Milan fans were kind of, they were trying to at least get some kind of cheer, and they couldn't even get anything. And we had these organized, 4 or 5 different organized cheers, so it was nice to be there and hear that. Also, if you remember, the high school this year would have had the potential of having 3 state championships teams, right? We got one with the competitive cheer, and then obviously the wrestlers made it to the finals and are the state runners-up, but they three-peat before that. So it's interesting to see how well our sports programs do, and it's a great pride. And so I want to thank those boys for the great job they did. If you remember, as you mentioned, it's a young team. Probably close to a third of that team was here a couple years ago when those 12-year-old won the Little League state championship and went on to play the other states. Unfortunately, they lost. But with that foundation, I think really helped this team become where they're at, and I would anticipate that they're going to have great success the next few years and hopefully longer. It just points out that we have great youth sports programs in this town, in this area, not just the city, which help feed into these programs and make them successful. So it's real beneficial for the entire community. Even though it's within the schools, we're all together in this, and it just builds better community, better people. That was it. Thank you.
Jim?
I think everything's been said.
I would agree to that. That's everything's been pretty well covered. I'd like to thank the administration again for taking care of some of the people that don't take care of their grass. You jumped right on our John, and got things taken care of. It looks a lot better. Sadly, I think they're going to continue not to take care of their grass. And personally, I would like to see us utilize the ordinance that we have and let our police department do their job, because the same group of people continue to not, care about what it looks like on their properties, and a lot of us do care. I think the vast majority of the town cares what their community looks like. As good as our sports teams are, and you hear about it wherever you go, is as good as what I hear when people drive through our town and see the lawns and the care that's been taken of the homes and the lawns and buildings and everything else. So hopefully, I'm already seeing one that looks like they're just waiting for us to come back again. And hopefully we stay on that and don't let it get completely out of control again. Other than that, a lot of good things happening all summer long. And hopefully we can all take advantage of those things that are age appropriate throughout the summer. Given that, I don't believe there's any other comments to be made here. We can do the calendar right now. Jim, thank you. Today being the 17th of June, we have an EDC meeting on the 19th. John?
Yes.
Still planned? Okay,
Yes.
EDC meeting right here at City Hall on the 19th. Open to the public. TIFA will meet on the 26th at 7 o'clock right here at City Hall. And on the 30th, we also have the annual log cabin days. What time does that start? Around noon? Be safe? Somewhere around noon. I don't have a flyer on that. But our annual log cabin days, a lot more activities being planned this year. That will be Sunday the 30th over at Bailey Park. Stop on over there. City Council will meet 2 weeks from tonight on July 1st. Recreation Board, did that get moved? Recreation Board's July 2nd meeting?
As far as I know, that is
Does it
still
stay
on still on that date.
Okay.
And I believe it's in the calendar. We are closed that Friday as well.
Yes, yeah. Rec Board will meet Tuesday the 2nd at 7 o'clock right here at City Hall. Then, of course, we have July 4th. City Hall, the Community Center, and the library will all be closed on the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. That's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Reopening on Monday the 8th. There is a blood drive that will be held by Richmond Lennox EMS and the American Red Cross from 9 to 9 on Thursday, July 11th. And that is going to be at the Richmond Township offices out on the corner of M19 and school section. Is there anything else that we need to add to our calendar? Being not, we do have a closed session this evening. We would need a motion to enter into that closed session.
I'm going to convene into closed session in accordance with Section 8C of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, Public Act 267 of 1976, as amended for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement if either negotiating party requests a closed hearing.
Support.
Motion been made and supported. Is there any discussion? Being not, roll call, please.
Green,
Yes.
LaFour,
Yes.
Nastrovich,
Yes.
Ricks.
Yes.
Schultz.
Yes.
Yarrick,
Yes.
Goodar.
Motion passes. We will recess for 5 minutes and go into closed session. Thanks for being with us tonight.